last time on the Empire's Edge.
But you don't believe that he's aware of the fact that you've spotted him.
Something on your mind, Carl?
My superiors need to meet with you first. It was in a long time ago in a city that is now destroyed. Mr. Sage is the druid that rescued you from the salt merchants 15 years ago. And two people walk into the room, and he says, "We are part of Steel Cloud." And as you see walking into the room, it's Larkin Silk, and it's Bolt. And Larkin Silk says, "Jacob Treadstone, let me introduce to you Arnar Jan Sigger."
No! Come on!
So they walk to the table, and apparently, Jacob, you are a little surprised by all of this. And they pull up a couple of chairs, and they sit down at the table with all of you.
Our last interaction with the Steel Cloud precipitated the assassination of Baron Warland. I take it then you're not affiliated with these elements?
Steel Cloud became something of a fractured organization, and we've been spending time to weed out those who were had infiltrated it. And we had one contact, one of our group, that we were uncertain about. And we've since found out that that loose end has been neutralized up in Warland.
I see.
Who's talking?
That was Larkin Silk.
Okay. Straight into business, I see. I remember thinking, I don't know if Jacob's like calmed down after all this and Boris like, hey, okay, you take care of this. I'm just freaking out, like trying to think of everything.
Last time we interacted with them, they were enemies.
When did we interact with a Steel Cloud?
What's his name? Orland's brother. Or Olsen's brother. Back in Warland. The guy who stole the papers and was using somebody's brain to do a magic ritual?
That's right.
We have his symbol.
You have his symbol.
Yeah, you have that token.
I was carrying it, then you took it to mess with the butler.
Yep.
Which I was expecting the butler to be here when you were... said we were Steel Cloud. I was like, I thought...
So, are you saying that out loud? We expect the butler to be here?
No.
He has buttling duties to attend to.
No. I don't know what's going on here. I don't want to give out any information because I just found out that I think I trust these guys. That's it.
We have the symbol of the neutralized party.
And Arnar Jan Sigger holds out his hand to receive it from you. And when he takes it, he doesn't like, "Oh, nice," and hand it back to you. He puts it in a pocket.
Yeah, which, which is what I would expect.
We're not affiliated with the order.
Right.
This was the loose end. In essence, we had to decide if we needed to end Steel Cloud, which would be a terrible detriment to what's happening here, mostly in Carnkeldley, or if we could reforge it, remake it in some other form. But it was everything that happened up in Warland Barony, and as we understand it, the involvement of the three of you that changed that determination. And we have since decided to not only maintain Steel Cloud, but to augment it and to add to it.
What's your intention with Steel Cloud here?
Well, we can get to those specifics in just a moment, but I think you have other things that should be discussed first about what's happening with the Baron and with the Rhazia Tower.
I'm going to do an insight on the three of them.
Okay.
I'm still not sure I trust them.
I know I trust Mr. Basil.
Sage?
Sage.
This is your backstory.
Whoa.
I forgot. I knew it was an herb.
I trust Herb.
It's Herb, thank you.
We're in America. It's whatever we want to call him.
How did you keep that in just now? Every time I roll a natural 20, I think I pee a little.
We
just over here,
think
just like
that too.
nonchalantly, just like,
Rolls a 20.
oh, look, yeah.
It's my due. I'm actually offended when I don't roll a natural 20. This is like, yeah, no, it is what it's supposed to be. 23 on an insight.
Yeah, you're getting a good read. I guess you keep the same roll for each one of those guys. It's like you're looking at the druid, Beckett Reed. Mm-hmm. You're looking at Larkin Silk. You're looking at Arnar Jan Sigger, like each in turn. And there might be a lot of that going around the table right now. But you have a very good read on them. That when he said that we considered destroying Steel Cloud, that it would need to be destroyed, but everything that changed in Warland, and then they started trying to find out about the three of you. And he means it, that it's the three of you that are doing things or changing something.
So what is the Steel Cloud supposed to be?
Steel Cloud is working to preserve what used to be Bravis, and that was continued into the Kremlin Protectorate. It is a state of mind. It's a belief in freedom. And it has since been eclipsed and overmatched by people that use the knowledge, the magic, the wizardry that used to be Bravis, that continued in the Kremlin Protectorate, and is now being subverted with the Rhazia Wizards. The wizards have their power because they utilize magic and knowledge that they have found adventuring in the Brimroar using Kremlin Protectorate magical items.
So the wizards, are they essentially your main fight? Do you fight against them? Or are they your main quarry? Or are they just the most recent in like a long line of people you've had to take down?
No, they are our foe. They've been our foe for a time. The nobility are predictable. They want to enjoy their lives. They want to live with privilege. They want to command. But they also, and in this case, Baron Fleetwood, is interested in maintaining the city, running and keeping the safest city that he possibly can. So in that regard, he is trustworthy as much as, I'm sorry, any person of the noble class would be. However, the Rhazia Wizards are only looking to subvert that authority and to make it their own.
What's your interaction with the Zrex?
The Zrex are a new evil. At first, we thought there was something coming in that could actually benefit what's happening in the city and could aid us. And we found out very quickly that they are also a foe, looking to stamp out what we're working on. But we don't have the resources and people to shift and work on two targets at once.
Yeah, I think one target at a time, definitely starting with the bigger threat between the two.
Right, because this larger threat wants to destabilize the government of this particular city-state. And if that happens, then I'm not sure. I hate to predict what actually this region will become, but it would be one that is under this mageocracy, and it would be an iron fist, a totalitarian rule.
What's interesting to me, and this is out of character, just me thinking out loud, that would indicate that Lynch is either a very recent traitor or is kind of twice over a traitor, that he flipped to another side and then flipped again to the Zrex.
Yeah,
Are we still thinking
that's a very good point?
Yeah, it's just interesting.
like Olsen from
Not
Brian?
our Olsen, Lynch, his brother. I forget his first name. The guy we arrested in Warland.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's Rolf Lynch. And
Rolf, yeah.
that is an interesting point, that he does seem to have like flipped and maybe flipped again.
Yeah.
And you think he's the only one? You think the rest of the Steel Cloud is secure?
No, there were others. People that actually Rolf Lynch himself was reporting to, but they have been eliminated.
How big is your collective? How many members do you expect your guys to have? Do you know all the members you have?
We do, and it is relatively small, but they're in strategic places, both here in Southland, in various places in Southland, but then also in the Confederation of Duchies, as well as the Corman Empire. But it's a very thin line of people working toward the same end.
We helped establish Weldon. That could be another, it is quickly becoming an important area. That could be another, if you had an operative or a new operative, that could be another place to establish someone. Shepton 2 is being rebuilt. And again, that could be another one. Our greater concern is with the Zrex. We're going to help this city, because if we don't, the Zrek threat is going to grow. We believe the Zrek threat threatens not just city or regional. We believe they have much bigger plans.
Well, with that thought in mind, and they're looking over at you, Jacob, that someone to be only in the Weldon region of Orland Barony, someone to be in Shepton, which is unincorporated, just out in the middle of the Brimroar somewhere. And when Larkin Silk says that, Bolt, Arnoy and Sigger, looks over at him and just smiles. Like that's a place. Like there's something. Actually, do an insight, all of you, as that's happening.
Ooh, nice.
12.
11.
You said insight?
Yes, sir.
21.
Jacob, you recognize just by the way he looked over and the look in his eye that Arnoy and Sigger knows that place Shepton, but might know it by some other name or whatever. But you could tell that he was very familiar with that.
Okay.
He was like, oh yeah, that's a place I know.
Okay, so
that we want someone to be there. We couldn't have an operative in each of those locations. We're too thin, and really information coming out of the Brimroar, it's so encapsulated by valley to valley. We need someone who could range over that area. And with that, Jacob Treadstone, we want you to join Steel Cloud and be part of our order. Right now, David is looking at everybody else on the table.
Insight on them, but also probably the
Who's them?
like everyone else in the room, Boris and Zelen included, just kind of like see how they took that news and to see kind of like where our levels of trust are without having to vocalize.
The ones you're rolling on Zelen and Boris, make them 2 separate rolls. The Zelen and Boris roll, and then the everybody else roll.
Right.
Do the one with advantage with Boris and Zelen, because you know these two so well.
Okay.
Look at subtle things that they'll do that you're like, oh yeah, okay.
17 on both of Boris and Zelen.
That's the modified number?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then on the other people in the room, 11.
Okay, so with Boris and Zelen, you think that they think Zelen, Boris?
Yeah.
I'd like to know more what's involved, because we can't have conflicting missions. We have a mission. We can't then have you have your own mission.
Yeah.
The line in my head is, the enemy of my enemy is a potential stab in my back.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking like not necessarily like what they expect me to say to it, but what they think of, like what's their general consensus of the Steel Cloud in this moment, because we haven't had a huge interaction with them thus far.
Trust.
Yeah, I have total trust.
I know that's
because of Mr. Sage. So
Mr. Sage on the other side.
I have complete trust. I don't have any fears about it, but my concern is you're going to end up with a conflict in mission, and I don't want that in our party.
So Zelen's Mr. Sage would probably be Olsen Lynch for Jacob. So I want to ask them from Gryan, the city that I was born and raised. I knew a man.
City was really generous.
The town, the huddle of cottages,
Conglomerate of huts
of Gryan that I was born and raised. I knew a man named Olsen Lynch. What was his involvement with his brother Rolf, that was this traitor? What was Olsen Lynch's involvement? And I pull out the fox from my pocket. What's the significance?
He points and says that. Most of what he was looking for were artifacts that were associated with either, most typically, the Kremlin Protectorate, or even older, from what we have all called Old Bravis, from the Bravis Empire. That he was looking for stones that carried magic, had a residual like inclination toward a certain type of energy, and he was gathering those to try to learn. It was truly archaeological, that he was trying to find what they were and how they operated, because he believed that Old Bravis, for all of its power, might have been done in by those from the inside of itself who were looking to consolidate certain types of power and lead it in a particular direction. Now, there's a story that Bravis was brought down in a cataclysmic war. There's some say that it was actually destroyed when 2 gods were fighting. Who knows, what's actually true, what could happen in the world. But he was looking for items that could aid Steel Cloud in better understanding both Old Bravis and the Kremlin Protectorate.
That's very similar to Violet, the way that she told her story. Do you guys remember?
She favored the
gods
latter
fighting
rather than the former. Yeah.
You guys remember?
If you said that out loud, they'd have been like, who?
Yeah.
The heiress of
What was that?
Sarntar Azul.
Yeah, and there's like looks between the two of them like, oh. So this is why we think you're the perfect person to join us right now, because you've been in these regions and you can move about them. You have, that is the 3 of you. But as a person who, we understand you do cartography, you would be
I dabble.
The perfect person for us.
And occasionally stipple.
Wait, I have my grandmother's hummingbird, Ludmilla. She always treasured this. Was she part of Steel Cloud?
Ludmilla rejected titles. She rejected affiliations. That she was a true daughter of nature and a servant of nature. We thought of her as being a member of Steel Cloud. She knew what Steel Cloud was doing and assisted it, helped it wherever it could. So to us, and both Arnar and Larkin look at each other and they nod their head. To us, she was a member of Steel Cloud. If you would have asked her, and maybe that would have been if she was ever questioned or interrogated, she would honestly say that she was not. But she was.
So I want to turn back to... I want to call him both Bolt and Arnar Jan Sigger at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, you could use either one probably interchangeably.
Bolter.
Bolt Jan Sigger. Bolt, and I take my bow off of my back and I hold it out to him like, you crafted this. I have questions specifically about this and about the coincidence, I don't know the right word, of the fox inlaid in the handle and the fox given to me by Olsen Lynch. And also, who was the man who previously had this bow, who we had the misfortune for him to find near the throne of Endara?
I made this bolt for someone named James Hilton, and he He wielded this bow. I'm not even sure how many years ago it was. It all runs together after a while, maybe 50, maybe 80 years ago. A warrior, a soldier, an adventurer, and he moved deep into the Brimroar and was never heard from again. I had always assumed that he was either killed by giants or maybe stepped into one of the traps that still exist from the Kremlin Protectorate, or even from Bravis itself, but never came back out. A very capable man.
Now, is it just coincidence, the fox, or is there something that I don't know about this bow that I possess?
There is a belief that comes from the Kremlin Protectorate, and that is certain energies are drawn towards certain things. That this bow has come to you, and that you associate yourself with the animal, the fox, then it was meant to be yours. That I made it for you all those years ago, but it just came to you through Hilton.
Oh, that's so cool, David says.
And it could be that someday in the future, upon your death, that there'll be some other individual who identifies with that energy of the fox, and the bow will come to him. And then I will have made that bow for him, and it came to him through Hilton and through Treadstone.
How old are you?
That's a mean question.
I know. I was gonna like roll an insight to see like would that be rude in this moment?
As old as my tongue and a little older than my teeth.
But just like I just really feel like asking that question is just. Really...
I think it's also a very valid question.
It says, some 600 years ago, I won my first archery contest at a large town, a small city in Shept Panov, in what we now call the Brimroar. And that city is now laid waste. It was wiped clean from the surface of the valley hundreds of years ago.
Make sure I heard that right. You said Shept like Shepton, and then Panov like Shapanov. Like it was the mixture of those two. Like just make sure that I heard the name correctly. Asking Matt, not. Not
yes,
bold.
you heard the name correctly.
I don't want to throw those names out there in the middle of this conversation.
I am bold.
Yeah. Okay. Looking around, because I definitely shared a look with Victor just then when that name was said. Does that make you guys have questions?
Yeah. Well, I've got nothing but questions, and I do not trust the people involved. So
I'll turn back to Bolt. Was that the city you were telling me about when I asked you what your favorite, what you would say your best win was in a city that no longer exists? Was Shept Panov?
It was in Shept Panov.
Where was it?
And he gives like a general description of travel and days and times. And as you're lining that up, go ahead and roll that as, I would think, probably your survival skill, because it's mapping with your ranger tracking brain.
Natural 19, 26.
Oh, nice. It sounds like the general location of Shepton.
Okay, that tracks. So I share that with Boris and Zelen to provide that clarity.
Yeah, I guess you don't have your maps you've made with you,
yeah, no,
so
the
you couldn't just
those,
unroll those.
Yeah, those tools are probably all sitting back in Rothaus.
Yeah, the tools, yes. The
maps
themselves are probably still in Warland.
Oh yeah, I did give those to you.
Although you could easily sketch it out just on the ground if you wanted to.
He gets charcoal, starts drawing.
Just start drawing on
Reed's table.
Cards in the table.
Hey.
All right, so we're here, and we want to go all the way over here. That's my head's still moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. What's the next step from here? What do we have to do in order to start? Because our main issue, I think we are aligned with you, is taking care of these wizards. How can we work with you to put ourselves at ease, to know that we are working with someone who we can trust? Where do we start?
That's a very good question. All that we know is that our own intel tells us that the Rhazia Wizards are on the verge of making some major move against Baron Fleetwood's authority. That we would wonder if it was going to happen during the archery contest. We wonder if it's going to be part of the archery contest, but it could be a little longer. It could be a month from now.
The melee menagerie, I think, would make more sense if it is to do with the circus.
We had been hearing about
They're already summoning creatures.
And that would make an awful lot of sense. So that takes place, I believe. They look at each other again. Yeah, the day after the contest. I think the archery contest is resolved.
Or the day after tomorrow.
The only reason we're both in the archery contest is because we wanted to be there. And we could organize what very thin resources we have at our disposal to try to counter it in the moment. And it could still happen tomorrow, and we're all there. They would have something to deal with the two of us together. But with all of us together, it would be an awful lot more for them to deal with. Although it's so open, there's so many people that are visible. What we're also having, we've heard word of from our various sources of information, is that there is a move being made against the Rhazia Wizards, and that is what we're interested in. And the
From
variable
whom did you hear this?
that's changed. Well, if we're working on trust, we've heard it from a number of the children that run errands and run missions from around the city itself.
Either I don't pay them enough or you pay them significantly more. Yes. To be blunt, we plan the end of the Rhazia Wizards.
And that is an incredible thing. I'm not asking you specifics. I'm not asking to know the details of your plan because I know that you don't trust us. But our goal is to bring down these Rhazia Wizards, and our plan involved that happening over the course of the next 10 years.
How many archers do you have at your disposal about?
And they said, well, to give you approximates, around 50.
Oh,
Okay.
crap. Okay.
So, and are those, if we work together, are those people that could engage?
They certainly could. What we're imagining is something happening, something very dreadful happening during the archery contest itself. It's an easy one for us to blend in because there are bows everywhere.
Right.
Every other person, just to be associated with those that are competing, have a bow over their shoulder, whether they can wield it or not. At the games themselves, when we're actually competing out on the open field during the archery contest itself, that if there be a major move right then, more than likely, very quickly, most of my people would die because they would be eliminating all of those as fast as they could with their arrows. They're placed near the main pavilions of both the Zrex and then also for the Rhazia Wizards.
This is Larkin Silk.
This is Larkin Silk.
Yeah, I figured as much because now I'll turn to Tilzano and say, yes, that woman you were standing next to, she was on Johann Street. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think we talked about that like right after she walked away. Like, yeah, I wasn't kidding. She could have killed me.
Yeah.
Larkin has a lot of I wouldn't say just men, just a lot of men and women, a lot of
people.
He's got a platoon, yeah.
If they're even a percentage as good as he is with a bow, then we definitely have a very, very good potential ally on our side.
I don't think we were intending to make our move during the contest.
The archery contest? No.
Right.
We're planning to make our move during the melee menagerie.
But
and that would make sense because most of the wizards are out of the Rhazia Tower.
Precisely.
Yes.
We've made some arrangements as a distraction. What we would need from you is assistance in that. Essentially, sow chaos in the city.
Greater distraction around the city.
Well, or also to keep the wizards that have gone to see the menagerie, the melee menagerie there.
Actually participate in it.
Keep them engage them there, keep them there so they can't come back.
We can't plan around generals. I'm going to detail the specifics for you. We are bringing down the tower itself, the actual physical structure.
And you get that same kind of shocked reaction you get from most people. And how?
I'm going to roll an insight while he's talking.
Okay. On
Boris.
Ooh, nice.
So a 27. I just want to see, I want to look for flashes across their face. Like, are they going, great? Or are they going, oh, this is information I'm going to send back? Like, what, you know how people have those
Sure.
like 2 seconds of
Micro-reactions,
look. Micro-reaction, yeah.
Yeah, the micro reaction that you get from all three of them, because it's almost identical, is like this elation, like, wow, yeah, wait, that's impossible.
Okay.
And it doesn't go any further or anything else than that.
Okay.
We've made arrangements with Indanur of Circulusia and the Umbra Hulks she directs.
Indanur, are you sure about her as a contact and trustworthy person?
The Rhazia Wizards attempted to assassinate her. Apparently, the current circus boss, Yang Bontil, is their man, but Inda is not.
Yang Bontil we've under observation. We thought he had a very, very strong control over the Circulusia. Wait, was this everything that happened just
Indeed.
Yes.
with the animals being released? I see. All right, well then, you trust her, and we're trusting you on that as well. So
A team of her Umbra Hulks will burrow under the Veda Library and pull down one of the minarets.
Like, oh, we have no problem with the Veda Library,
The Veda Library,
even though it's under
this-
their control.
it keeps them occupied. They have a tremendous amount of force concentrated there, so an attack there will be assumed to be a main front.
They have like knowledge blocked off from the Baron from access of other people within the city. We know there has to be. They have a huge level of importance that they associate with that.
Reason to suspect Shapanov's mission as well, which it is offensive for them to keep that in their control.
And again, they're nodding their heads at each other. And with that insight roll you made a minute ago, you get something from Mr. Sage, that is Beckett Reed, who is like, that makes sense. And he interjects, I've been searching this city for so long for evidence of and how to get to, but it's difficult for me to get into the Veda Library because I'll be discovered. I have to move from place to place that are shielded, that are protected. And in those in-between places, I'm vulnerable. At the Veda Library, I'd be exposed. They'd know exactly who and what I am. So I've not gone there, but I've suspected for some years, and the other two are nodding their heads, that Shapanov's mission is the extension of what was once Shept Panov, and that it was right here inside the library or beneath the library. Beyond that, we couldn't tell.
You've identified Shept Panov as being Shepton on the other end of the Brimroar.
Yeah, they're nodding their heads, yeah.
What do you mean that Shept Panov is?
So this is Beckett Reed responding. He's saying that there was some sort of like the religious focus, but it seems to have been very decentralized when it comes to an organized religion. And when the Bravas Empire fell, and with the start and the development of the Kremlin Protectorate,
They're refugees.
yes, they are. The religious center, although quite possibly the city of Sartar Azul might have already existed as a city in the Bravas Empire, that became the new center of culture. But the religious center, the religious focus, was at this place called Shept Panov. And something happened that wiped it out. And then that location moved to another one of their own satellites. That there might have been a number of places referred to as Shept Panov, and this was another one of them.
So this was the mission. This was
So the term then, Shept Panov, isn't a name or anything like that. It's not a place name. It's, the High Temple.
right.
Interesting. Pin in that. While the Umberhulks pull down a minaret of the Veda Library as a distraction to cause chaos and bait their attention, we are striking under the tower itself. That a second team of Umberhulks will be ready to raise that tower while we essentially go through and take what artifacts we want or need.
So you would expect to go up through some burrowed tunnel?
The servant's entrance.
There is. You told one of them, I think. Maybe it was.
No, I've told neither of them.
Okay. Or did you tell Reed?
Inda.
No, I told
that's
Nur, yeah.
recently. Yeah.
The Rhazia Tower is currently undergoing a schism, a slow schism for now, but one that factions desire to initiate quickly. The mage Hugo Cormac, wishes to gain control of the Rhazia Tower.
And again, they exchange those looks like, the name of one of these guys? Because they've not been able to find out that.
As he understands it, our arrangement is that we will arrange a distraction to bait their power. He's aware of the fall of the minaret of the Veda Library, and he has provided us with pass tokens to access the servant's entrance, and on his behalf, retrieve the scrying device, the Eye of Bravas. He is unaware that we intend to betray him and destroy the Rhazia Tower in the process.
So then you are breaking, you're moving in with these passes, you're taking anything you can, I guess, killing anyone that you encounter there that offers resistance, and then once you have what you want or what you're able to get, and definitely the eye, then the tower's being undermined by the Umberhulks beneath.
And pulled down. Yes.
And pulled down. Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And then likely Cormac will try and kill us and we'll kill him.
These powerful artifacts that you guys have been searching for throughout the Brimroar, is it understood, is it believed that the Eye of Bravas is one of these artifacts, one of the ones that they stole, that they've been using their power for the wrong purposes?
It is. It's one of the items that is most definitely something that was part of the Bravas Empire and then was a cherished heirloom in Sartar Azul for the Kremlin Protectorate.
Oh, we've we've talked a lot about that thing itself. We know they have some ability to scry to see anyone it is that they are wanting to look at right now. The longer this meeting goes on, do you feel that we're in some sort of a danger for them to find out Beckett has been using this place as his sanctum for who knows how long? Could they be converging on us right now?
There is a possibility. There always is. They have other magic and other devices at their disposal that they could come crashing down on this place, but they're not looking for it right here, right now. That this is just a business that has stood, and it's been here and operational for almost as long as they've been here and operational, and it's now part of the city. They're blinded by the mundane that's around them, and as long as they're behaving mundanely. Now, if we all started spell casting and doing massive things here, they'd come down here in a thunderclap. And I think you have an idea of other resources they have that would be their arms and legs and their projection out into this area. But we're safe here now.
Okay. And my head is only still just barely attached to my shoulders from their gargoyles.
And what about the townhome we're staying in? We know that the butler there is also one of your members.
He is. That's one of the reasons why we're approaching you now, is that you already revealed affiliation or knowledge of Steel Cloud. When you showed him that symbol, it was our major clue to understand that you are the ones that found Rolf to be the flipped agent that he was.
Good job, Zelen.
Thank you.
So Rolf House should be safe.
Okay.
Roth House.
Rolf.
Yeah, Rolf House. Roth House should be safe.
What about the Undercity? Do you know?
But there's been an awful lot of attention drawn to it.
Yes.
The three of you have brought an awful lot of attention to it.
What do you know about Roth House?
What do you mean?
So who owned the
late
house?
Kremlin design architecture.
Who's Roth?
Who's Roth? Who lived there before us potentially? Because I want to bring up I'm talking to Natalie and Victor. I want to bring up the floorboards that we found, just this pouch of silver. I want to know, see what I can find out from them.
Don't find out who owns that. I've been spending it.
Well, no, I like
Look
to know
at these
whose money I'm
shoes.
But yeah,
I think that gown came cheap.
whose health is Roth House?
Yeah. Roth House was one of the Roth was one of the not one of the original owners and founders of this city, but he was one of the major supporters of a couple of those different founding houses. He had affiliations with a couple of them, but his own heirs have long since died out, and it had been assumed and under the protection of the baronial estate, and is used as such there. But whenever anything needs to be done that we can't do here at the Mortal and Pestle, that is the name of the apothecary, then we move to Roth House.
And what do you know about the Undercity?
We know that we have access to it.
Do the wizards use it a lot?
And this is Beckett Reed. We're not sure. It's a disputed territory. That there is someone or something else that is vying for control of various tunnels that exist. Undercity is too generous, that it isn't as though there's a whole layer of the city there. It's tantamount to the strongest structures that were existent structures, whether they were aqueducts, if they were sewers at some point or another, or actually buildings that were made to connect or were reinforced in some way, that there is a maze beneath this city. And again, this is Beckett Reed talking, and he said, and I've been through them. I have fairly extensive knowledge of them, and I can get to most parts of the city underground. That's how I've been effective. I've not mapped it officially. Looking over at Jacob, I've not made maps of it because I don't want to betray the rest of the cell in case I was ever captured, because it is such a vital conduit between one location and another. But there is someone else that's down there and is taking over those areas. Generally has rats. Large, almost dire-like rats that are patrolling the area, working as his eyes and ears. But I don't know what he looks like. I don't know if it's a him or a her. I don't know the person's race, anything about them. It's as though the person that I'm after keeps changing.
When we were underneath the city, we did interact with a man. We were trying to escape the Rhazia Wizards while they were sending their golems upon us.
Oh, yeah, we figured that was you. So they were chasing...
Yeah, gargoyles.
We're chasing a group and some of their human operatives all across the city.
Yeah, that was us.
It was quite the battle, but we were able to.
If it's a minor to major act of terrorism, it's probably been us the past few days.
We were able to escape thanks to the help of a man named Londar. He found us on the side of from one of the alleyways and led us underneath the city. Are you affiliated with him? Do you know who this man is?
And again, both Arnar and Larkin look over at Reed, and he nods his head, and he's like, "That is one of the alias names that I've heard. Where did he lead you in? Where did he lead you out?"
And I tell them,
and
because I know.
When you say, "Oh yeah," so at that intersection, and then you came out right beneath Strom House,
Crest and Longworth.
right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's the
The exact.
no. That's the pass where we went in, not where we went out.
Oh, gotcha.
We came out on Spring Street by Roth House.
Yeah.
but right underneath of Strom, one of Strom householders.
One of the Strom holdings. Yeah.
Yeah. That when you describe that, he's nodding his head and he says, "That is part of the area that I don't have control of. That the other person does. More than likely, you have met and seen my adversary, Landar Kabir. That was one of the aliases. I doubt that's actually his name. What did he look like?"
I tell him.
And with the description of that he's of average height and dark hair, slightly darker features, looks like he could have been either from the very, very South Southland or maybe from the Corman Empire. He said, that could be anybody. That could be half the people in the city.
Yeah.
With the person that just attacked Indo, we can't trust any descriptions of how anyone looks anyway.
Right. So it might be that he's a shape changer of some kind or another too. But you've definitely gone through a place. I would assume he expected you guys to die down there, or he expected to get into your own confidence and find out more information from you.
We've had no contact with him since then, although we have gone back into that entrance.
Given that was only like 2 days ago.
We went back into that entrance and
not that you're aware of.
No, that's right. He could be a shapeshifter. Yeah, he could be in the room right now. He's the tea kettle, and
excuse us while we break all the furniture because
he's a mimic. He's a mimic. Yeah.
We just start breaking all the pots to get in the rupees out of all of Mr. Sage's stuff.
But before you say that, to finish answering Zellen's question, that I'm not sure how your plan works into this, that you're talking about getting these Umber Hulks there, but I would think, and this is, a druid talking, that they would be tunneling too slow to get there or close to there. And
I was about to ask if you could act as a guide.
I could get them very, very close to both the Veda Library and exceedingly close to. I could bring you right up adjacent to Garnsdale Park, where the remains of my circle, the actual circle, the Druid Circle, from my order has existed.
Now, we do have our means for getting into the tower already versus going into the Undercity. We were given by name
Hugo Cormac
tokens in order to get in through the servant's entrance.
Right.
We do have our way of getting into the tower. We do want to bring it down, but I don't know if we necessarily need to be underneath it as well.
No, we don't.
We'd be putting him being
Beckett Reed
in charge of that outfit of another word. What are they called?
Of guiding
Umber Hulks. Sappers. Yeah, Umber Hulks.
He said, accepted. Yeah, I could definitely lead them close to that too and could support them magically if need be. And whatever wizards survive this, actually most of them will, but they'll be exposed and won't have the benefit of their tower.
Or the resources within.
And if you are successful, their scrying device to gain who's there. Now, there's going to be chaos in the city, and mostly because they have their magical operatives that are all over, that they're always waiting on rooftops. There's going to be a convergence of power. So that those Umber Hulks are there, they could easily get away. All of you, I would assume, immediately preceding the tower coming down, will be a target to these things. Anyone in that region.
Yeah.
They'd probably kill anyone on the street that's nearby, just in the case that they were involved, or the hope that it was involved in this.
Well, the fallout of the tower itself would likely cover us a fair amount. I'm suspecting at least a few other buildings will be damaged, if not destroyed. From there, it's just a matter of what's encountered. The majority of the might of Rhazia Tower will be at the circus itself for the melee menagerie. Then it's all a matter of which ones are staying and how far they depart when it falls.
Yeah, that you can only play that as it's happening. Arnar and Sigurd turns back to you, Jacob, and he says, "Will you join us? That your mission is still your own. That you have what you've alluded to. That you are working to some aim that is well beyond the city of Carnkeldley. And I know it has something to do with the Gate of the Ages and the throne of Indara, because everyone, well, Let's just leave it at that. I know you've been there.
So I turn to Zell and I don't say anything, but I understand. I'm going through my head. I know how much she trusts Mr. Sage. I turn back and I look at Larkin Silk, and I know that how many times my life, though being in his hands was because he was the one threatening it, I'm still alive. I'm realizing I do have all these people that there's no reason I have at the moment not to trust them. So I step up to Bolt, Arnarion Sigurd. I put out my hand and I say, I will join you. I will join the Steel Cloud.
And he takes your hand, and as he's shaking it, he said, then repeat these words. I swear by the mission.
I swear by the mission.
To uphold justice.
To uphold justice.
And preserve the ideals of intellectual enlightenment.
And to preserve the ideas
of intellectual enlightenment.
Of intellectual enlightenment.
Bring the minds and energy.
Bring the minds and energy.
Of all sentient beings.
Of all sentient beings.
As it was known in the Bravus Empire.
As it was known in the Bravus Empire.
Handed down through the Kremlin Protectorate.
Handed down through the Kremlin Protectorate.
Remaining yet in the hearts.
Remaining yet in the hearts.
And minds.
And minds.
Of those willing to believe.
Of those willing to believe.
Unto the sacrifice of my own life.
Unto the sacrifice of my own life.
I forever attest.
I forever attest.
You are Steel Cloud.
Thank you.
So they're pushing their chairs back and already standing up. We have a contest to win tomorrow. And
I do.
Yeah. And they're all,
As I recall, you two have a contest to lose tomorrow.
Does he get a symbol? Do you get a...
I don't know.
You get Roths.
That's like the only one that has a tainted symbol.
I know.
I don't know if I want the tainted symbol.
No, we can't give you Rolf's.
Yeah.
It has other magic attached to it. We'll see you at the contest tomorrow.
We'll see you there.
And they nod their heads and they go into the back room and disappear.
Right. I bet they have cucumber sandwiches back there.
Evil cucumber sandwiches. So
they are evil. Smite!
Back to Rothaus.
Prejudice confirmed.
Back to Rothaus this lovely Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, get a good night's sleep.
Yeah, full rest.
Yeah, full rest.
Long rest.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna before I rest, I'm gonna really study these spells and make sure that I have the best ones prepared and prepare other ones if I think I don't.
Okay, so as you're doing that, I'll just narrate a little bit that the next morning when you guys are leaving, breakfast, making sure that you have two of the runners with you, and with the runners there, Boris, do you say anything in particular to them when that now you know that they might have been outed?
Yes.
Yeah, I do. I'm just not sure how I want to broach the topic.
Make sure you're wearing your ring and you slap them upside the face.
Yeah, that's slightly less good than I try.
Yeah. Paladins.
While I'm a terrorist because I'm actually correct. Says every terrorist.
The difference between you and me is I am right.
But as you're hashing that out in your head, it's going to be horses back down the tent that's set aside for the
our usual pomp and circumstance.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of that happens normally until you're on the edge of the pavilion. That's the word I couldn't find earlier.
Oh.
The edge of the pavilion, and then you're in the tent with those that are still competing, which is a very short list. It's just 6 of you now. And then around noon, you'll be brought out onto the main pavilion area for the actual competition. So anything else that's in between or during all of that, you guys just go ahead and say.
Yeah, kid's name is Tim, right?
You have Tim,
out of my head.
and then working for his Bob,
Leo.
and
well, Tim was the one I contacted.
Yes, Tim was your original main contact.
Yeah, so he's still the one I think of as being in charge of the bunch. Tim, have you been talking about my plans with other people?
About your plans, sir? I don't know what you mean.
Do you know anyone by the name of Beckett Reed?
No, I do not.
Runs the apothecary on whatever streets?
Mr. Sage?
Yes.
I know Mr. Sage.
Have you been talking to him about working for me?
Everyone knows that I work for you.
Have you been talking to him about what you've overheard working for me?
Only as it pertains to something called Bravus.
I see. And I assume he's been paying you well for this?
No, sir.
I see. I would appreciate it if you gave me a heads up if you were going to talk to anyone else about what I've told you. All right?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Finding out he's not getting paid, that was unexpected.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go beat up Beckett Reed.
Well, now I'm wondering, how he must be a really good guy.
Or you can ask him.
Beckett Reed?
No, ask Tim
Why he would share the information without
why
money?
he wouldn't want to get paid.
Yeah, no, I want my conflict to be with Reed, not with.
I want to beat up a man, not a boy.
I don't
no,
think there's a
I don't-
conflict.
I don't want to put him any more on the spot because I want to retain his services and his loyalty.
Yeah. I mean, you can
Ye-
always ask him, is there anyone else? Because right now...
Well, you two are here.
Oh,
Oh, we
anyway?
are?
I thought I was
Yeah.
already
So
shuffled
this
through.
is like on the way over.
Yeah, this is probably
What-
like right
Oh,
outside, right
just
outside of
said.
Roth House.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Tim, I've been friends with Mr. Sage my whole life.
Me too.
Did he ask about us, or were you just talking?
Oh, he asked. He's known about you since before you got into the city, and there's something very important connected to all of you. And he said that you could help in the fight against, and he, kind of like with his eyeballs and his
Yeah.
shoulders, the emotions. It's apparently means the Rhazia Wizards, because we can't let them ruin our city.
has anyone else been asking about us?
Oh, most everyone asks about you.
And what have you told them?
I say that they pay okay.
Okay.
Very good.
But Mr. Sage doesn't pay you at all, but you share information with Mr. Sage.
That's right, because I want the city to be better.
I see.
Oh,
and you're
so
and you're right.
Just inculcated a kid as a terrorist. Nice.
That is awesome. Okay, I trust Mr. Sage more now.
Well, we're on the same tier as the Jedi, so I guess we're the good guys.
Yeah, here we go.
That kind of
We
propaganda.
haven't kidnapped the kid, so we're technically morally
Yeah.
more morally upstanding than they are. But whatever.
Using one of your massive insight rolls from before, Boris.
Deal.
Because it's a minor point. You realize and put together that more than likely Tim and his associates were close by when you needed a runner. That they might have actually run off anyone else who would have been vying for that to be your runners specifically.
So the kid's an apprentice druid.
Quite possibly.
Oh, man.
Interesting.
The plot thickens. This is so nice.
I trust them less.
Oh, man.
So
They've been orchestrating crap since we've arrived. I trust them.
They've turned this into a
way
business. They may as well have like a little stand, like a little house out there that they have on the
we
street.
subvert governments.
Yeah. Put the little sign out front.
So the people that are competing in the archery contest today are Larkin Silk, Sir Claude Comer of Winston Barony, Sir Jacob Treadstone of Warland Barony, Gavin Rush, Irina Radabow, and Bolt. That's it. It's just down to the 6 of you right now. So with the same kind of pomp, the same kind of introduction, Yang Bontil, again, talking mostly toward the pavilion of the Rhazia Wizards, is really drawing up and is narrating for each one of you your skill and the things that you do. And the one that he can say the very least about, actually the two he says the least about, one is Bolt. So it seems pretty clear that he doesn't know who Bolt is, even though everyone knows that he's like a local hero. And that's all he says. And our own local hero, a person of the ages whom we all know and love, Bolt. And they freak out to that. But just prior to that, when he says, and this new contender, someone of determined skill, maybe on par with the great Larkin Silk himself, Jacob Treadstone, a member of the
I was so
Warland...
waiting for him to say Irina Radabow.
I was also expecting, as soon as he says my name, crickets.
From our neighbor to the north, Warland Barony, who reputedly has traveled to the far reaches of the Brimroar and has had multiple adventures out there, seeing things that no other person has seen before. And there's a lot of but it's very general, non-specific, but it has just enough detail that you kind of go,
How did he
how did he
know?"
get some of that stuff? And so there have been different times you've been in unshielded areas. They could have been looking at you specifically because you are a contender in this contest. You're very open and visible when it comes to this party of 3 right now.
Well, I do dramatic things in a fight so I can make sure that people who would recognize me
Are
don't.
dead. Yeah. What do you look like? You look like a sword smacking me in the head. That's all I can remember.
He looked very sharp.
All right, so you ready to twist your numbers on this, Jacob?
I was very proud of that joke. Sorry.
Yeah, I know you were.
Yes, I am.
The
I am.
implosion of your face told me.
Oh, yes.
All right, so but let me just go through these. So first of all, the first 2 shooters are Larkin Silk is shooting opposite. That'd be opposite Sir Claude Comer of Windsound Barony, and Larkin Silk rolls 21 modified. So above 20, it's right in the middle. And then the next one that's rolled is a 25 modified. So just 2 perfect right there in
Splits
the middle.
first one in half.
Yeah, that'd be neat. The Robin Hood the thing.
That's
We
a
need name.
30 or above.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So we need a thing that's not Robin Hooding an arrow. It's like
Siggering it?
You bolted it.
Siggering
Siggering it. Yeah. You Arnard that arrow. And his last arrow. Ooh, that's a modified 12.
Oh.
Ooh, that is a bad roll. He is at +8. He is 8 inches off the middle total. He has this one arrow that went dunk and went way out there.
Did they move him back? I mean,
They did. I'm sorry. I should have said that.
Okay.
It's 5 yards further out. And that makes it that if you roll an even higher number, one higher again, that if you roll anything under a 12, you're just missing the target altogether.
okay, so he just barely
he
got
just
the
barely
target.
caught the edge of the target. Yeah.
Getting disqualified, that would have been
That
something.
would be really embarrassing, yeah. So the things are out at about 45 yards right now, I believe is the distance on this one. And then Sir Claude Comer steps up and he takes his first shot, and it is a modified 20, so boom, right in the middle. And he takes his next shot, and it is a modified 16, so he's now 4 off.
Oh, no.
And then he takes his last shot. Oh, and it's a 10, modified.
Oh.
Sir Claude Comer is disqualified.
Oh.
So Larkin Silk goes into the final 3. The next up,
Is anyone else kind of hoping that they saw, I don't have any problems with Larkin, but seeing him just get disqualified or get beaten, that
Well,
would be funny.
he's the best in the city, so it'd be a bit humiliating to lose to some random.
that
Yeah.
would be, yeah. It's like then there's
What do you mean random? That's Claude Comer of Windsong Barony.
He's a random now. He's disqualified.
and then suddenly there's an arrow through his ears. We're like, where'd that come from, Larkin Silk? Yeah, didn't see that coming. Okay, so the next up is going to be Irina Radabal, who was the surprise move
Yeah,
into the
right.
next one, and she has low pluses to hit. It was just
Yeah,
she
she
rolled
rocks.
hot, yeah. And Bolt,
Oh.
yeah.
Wait, she went against him yesterday, didn't she?
I don't recall. I just rolled that at random.
I just
So,
work here.
Irina
I just-
is shooting first, and with her minuscule pluses to hit, she's dead center at a modified 22.
Nice.
Dang.
Yeah. And then her next one is a modified 14. That's 6 off.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Still in it?
So still in it. And then her last one
Still doing better than Silk.
is, yeah, right. No, identical. She is at a modified 18. So she is also 8 off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's the 2 of them 8 off. And people start chanting as a group. SASO, SASO. And Yang Banto comes out and says, SASO will happen once the last pair of shooters shoot, and then we'll determine who will be the victor in the single arrow shoot off. And then the
Now it's
last,
Bolt, right?
yeah, that's Bolt, and no, that was Irina Radabal and Larkin's.
No, it
No,
was-
she's going against Bolt.
yeah, she's
Yeah,
going
she was
with
against Bolt. Now it's Bolt that's right now, and Bolt on his first arrow
Do we have to roll? Because I think he's going to be
is
right
a
here.
modified 23. That's dead center.
Yep.
How'd that guy roll a 400?
Yeah, right. His second arrow is a modified 20.
Oh,
Again, thump, right in the middle.
That's
And then his last arrow,
the upper end of, or the lower end of perfect.
yeah, his lower end of perfect, is modified 24.
Yeah.
Thump. So all 3, they're like as tightly packed into the middle as it could possibly be. Last shooters, Jacob Treadstone and Gavin Rush.
Oh my gosh, I'm
All right,
worried.
and of the 2 of them, Jacob, you are up.
I go first.
All right.
Here we go. 25.
Ooh, hang on. I'm recording your numbers too.
12.
Oh no.
So you are also at
Just at the edge.
And 28.
wow.
Oh,
so
man.
same thing. So there are 3 shooters right now that have +8.
Oh my gosh.
All 3 of you, and you and Larkin Silk are 2 of them.
oh my
Like
gosh.
tied in that. And
So,
so
like, is he just trying to tie Larkin Silk to screw with him? Is he doing this on purpose? No.
that's nuts. All right,
Yes,
so-
this is my plan.
So, and again, the crowd is all yelling either some combination of single arrow shoot off or SASO. And like this happens periodically, but right now, instead of it being just 2 people shooting opposite each other, they're bringing up Larkin Silk, and just to see, I guess they're bringing her into it, Irina Radabal and you. Jacob
man.
Treadstone, that you're all at +8 because they don't know who the top 3 is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a wild card situation. Even though Bolt shot opposite Irina Radabal, she could still beat it and go into it. What I had anticipated was there'd be a 3-way tie for second place. And that means that anyone of you could go into it, and instead of having a 3-person shoot-off at the end, it's going to be a 2-person shoot-off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right. So it's a single arrow.
What about the last guy, right? He's still got to go?
You're right. Yeah, I forgot about Gavin Roche. Oh my gosh. If he rolls like 8 off. So yeah, it all goes nuts, and then quiet down. Gavin Roche goes, "Hey, I still want to shoot. Am I disqualified?
I get another shot.
Okay, so his first arrow is a 19.
Okay.
So he's 1 off. And his second arrow is a modified. Oh, yeah, he's out. It's a modified. It's a modified 10.
Oh, poor guy.
And all that. Yeah. So everyone allows him his last arrow, and his last arrow is a modified 23. So his last arrow at least is thunk, right in the very middle.
He's not completely
Gavin
shamed.
Rush. Yeah. He's only partially shamed. And they move those targets away, and they bring out 3 targets. You are each asked to have 1 arrow. And you're lining up on it, and they hold up a flag. Yang Bontil, he calls to the group and says, when this flag comes down to its lowest point, loose, all of you fire at the same time.
Okay.
And so you're aware of it. You don't even have time to set up, line up, wait for the wind. You're just shooting.
Pivot and kill one of the other competitors.
Turn, yeah.
Bullseye.
Both Jacob and
Nail
Larkin
a
Silk.
Rhazia Wizard or Yang Bontil.
Starts now.
Both Larkin Silk and Jacob Treadstone kill Irina Radabal. Who
And
is
she
that?
wins.
Who is that upstart? Yeah.
Well,
All right,
she
so,
wins because nobody else took a shot.
All right. So go ahead and roll it. Tell me the numbers.
Natural 20. Oh my god!
All right. So
I
as
don't want to touch it. It's right there. It's dangling on the edge of the table.
as the aftermath of all this, and again the crowd goes nuts. Just even as you're shooting, there's a roar from everywhere. Irina Radabal's target is empty. She missed the target completely.
Or rather, her arrow isn't in the target. Because
Yeah.
it was the one target.
And then, and then for no, you each had your own 3 targets.
okay.
Yeah, there was each one of you had your own target.
That's how words work.
And then Larkin Silks is at a modified 16.
Oh wow!
And obviously, clearly the winner, dead center in the target with the
blew out
natural
the middle
20.
because that was a 30
I'll say a
modified.
natural 20. That's just incredible. And they're going nuts. Everyone all over the place. And you look over, including like the Zrek and the Rhazia Wizards, they're yelling, Treadstone! Treadstone!
Keep
Like
this
that.
energy in mind when I'm robbing you guys later.
And they say, and for the final shoot, determine the winner of this year's archery contest, competing for a heartstring for their bow. Our contender, Jacob Treadstone.
Woo! Oh, it's just me. Everyone else is quiet.
And the standing and long-held victor, Bolt. And again, there's a lot of craziness going wild.
Oh my
All right.
gosh!
So we're going to do final shoot-off right now.
Single arrow, or is it 3 again?
It is back to the 3.
And do they
again.
move it back even further? So we're like
They do. It's
50
back,
yards.
It's at 50 yards.
Ooh, that's the extreme range of your. That's your extreme functional range.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a disadvantage, but it's about as
Yeah.
far as you can get away.
150 feet. Yeah.
All right. So,
Oh my gosh. That's like half a football field. That's a distance.
it is an incredible distance.
Nice distance.
Although in my preparation, I had assumed that Larkin Silk would still be in this. No, Larkin Silk eliminated by Sir Jacob Treadstone.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right. If you guys actually maintain friendship from here on out, that is never going to die.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah, we still remind David of a certain table.
Oh. That table is.
The pieces are still in the attic. Yeah.
I was gonna say that table's long since gone. No,
Nope.
it's immortalized. Thanks.
All right. So go ahead.
I'm so worried.
So
24.
and his first arrow is also dead center.
Okay,
You're at 2 separate targets and you're shooting more or less at the same time.
I got you. 25.
22.
Ooh.
They're both dead center.
Oh, come on, come on. All the good luck, come on. Touch my die. All right. Yeah, good energy, good energy.
Blessings.
No.
Oh no!
What'd you roll?
14.
And so on that final arrow, his is dead center.
Oh no.
And you are some inches off. And again, the place goes nuts. Bolt, 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 bolt. And they're all freaking out. Jacob, that was so cool. You got that far. If there was somebody to lose to,
oh yeah,
it'd be Arnar Jan
the guy
Sigurd.
who built what thing I fire with.
Right. Yeah. And so then the two of you are walking together. Yang Bontil and Indonur are already all coming over there. And actually, one of the Rhazia Wizards.
Ooh. It's not the one that we know, right? It's just a
It
Rhazia
is
wizard?
not
Okay.
Hugo Cormac. You don't know this person's name. Actually, no one that's in that little circle probably knows that person's name. And they get together, and there's cheering and whatnot. And he says, on behalf of the Rhazia Wizards, we present this heartstring to Bolt, and again for this amazing win in his 6th in a row, winning our contest. And Bolt just steps forward and says, I appreciate this, and thank you so much, but I already have one, if you recall. And I would much prefer that my worthy opponent has this heartstring instead. But I would gladly accept the 100 silver that would have been his.
Well, I'm not going to be the dick and say, no. I want the money. I accept your terms, and I shake his hand.
And you shake hands, and again, everyone just thinks it's great that, that this new local kind of their own, because you're also from this peripheral region that's between empires, that all of Southland has to stick together. And so they're treating Jacob Treadstone as he's one of their own. And it seems like there's an equal reaction among both the nobility that are in attendance here and just the average guy, because they're like, you know what? He's a nobleman, but he doesn't act like one. He's actually one of us. So if there's somebody to bridge all these social gaps, it apparently is Sir Jacob Treadstone. And the Rhazia Wizard extends his hand, wanting to take your bow in hand.
And I'm looking, it's like, oh, no. I do find a certain joy in stringing my own bow, and
and he says, of course, Sir Treadstone, but the string has to be magically fitted to your own. And I don't believe you have the skill to do that. Would you please unstring your bow?
Sure, and I'll do that. I'm looking over at Bolt, seeing if I get any sort of like a...
Yeah, he's giving a head nod. Like, you know, that's if you want the heartstring on there, it has to be...
Just making sure like he wasn't saying, like, don't put that bow in the hands of the wizards. Like, I was making sure I wasn't getting that kind of a vibe from him.
Yeah, that Bolt concentrates and whap, the bow goes into his hand.
Like,
no.
Yeah.
So... Do you hand it over
I'll...
to? So he takes it, and the Rhazia Wizard, he takes out from somewhere, it's like he appears in his hand, this, what looks like just regular string, and he's spellcasting. He's working it onto this, and the string, which was apparently too long, becomes to the exact length for your bow as he strings it, and then when it's done, he hands it back over to you. And again, with the presentation, he doesn't let go of it when you take hold of it. And there's that moment, like the
Pausing
two dignitaries shaking hands, that everyone all around the place, and you could see they're looking at, look how great that we have the Rhazia Wizards here. Isn't this awesome that they're involved in all these cool things? Insights for both Zelen and Boris as this moment is happening.
21.
10.
Yeah. So, Boris, you're aware as you glance over your shoulder
that 4 came from her luck, not mine.
that you can tell that the one pavilion that seems really upset by this presentation is Baron Fleetwood's pavilion.
Naturally.
They're kind of like golf clapping, like, yeah, that's really great. Even though they're probably really glad that Treadstone won, or they got the heartstring, though he didn't win. And then in the next moment, the Rhazia Wizard lets go of the bow, nods to you, gives a wave to the crowd, and then he walks back toward his pavilion. And Yang Bontil says, then I give you your victor, Bolt, and the best next showing, Sir Jacob Treadstone. And again, the crowd goes nuts.
Hands up in the air.
And they're all that, yeah. People are shooting arrows into the air.
Oh, God. Are the targets still set up?
Texas?
Are the targets still set up, or are they being carted out?
No, the targets are still set up.
I want to take a shot at one of the targets with my brand new string, just to kind of show it off. If I don't have to fire through people, if I can just like like just test the thing out for
Actually,
show.
apparently, is in combat you could like fire like right past people.
I think that's a really good idea to make sure they didn't screw up your bow too.
Oh yeah, 22.
Yeah, right in the middle. Yeah, that was the one you should have shot last time.
Actually, yeah, I rolled a 12. I don't know how many times for each of the different competitions. This one was a natural 12 for the 22.
Yeah, so that was. I was actually wondering, would Jacob Treadstone and Bolt go into a single arrow shoot off?
Oh man,
yeah, right again. That'd be like the most like the craziest thing.
Apparently, I do really good at those because my first shot, my second shot were fine. It's always that third shot that's just like.
The energy of it all. So all of you are walking back toward the one side together. You're heading back toward where Boris and Zell and Lark and Silk is right there with you, and you're all laughing and talking and like congratulating each other, sharing with everything. And Arnaria and Sigurd says to you, there is nothing the Rhazia Wizards could do that would have tainted or track you by their magic with this bow, the way they've been constructed. The only thing they could have done to the bow would have been to destroy it. They could have shattered the bow. But obviously they didn't do that. So it is safe. It is still safe.
Thank you.
And congratulations to you.
And to you as well.
And then as you're standing there congratulating each other, somebody has produced ale from somewhere, and mugs are being pushed in everybody's hands as this little impromptu party.
Of a couple halflings.
Yes. It starts impromptu right on the edge, really, of the pavilion
Not
for Baron Fleetwood.
Croaky.
And, right. And then as other people move away, you can see that Indanur walks over to you, and as she gets close, has a mug, she leans close to all of you and says, I have intel from the interrogation. There's things we've got to talk about. Thanks for listening. We love that you're enjoying the podcast as much as we're enjoying making it for you. Find additional content on our websites, mattsinkovich.com and theempiresedge.com. Tell everyone you know and everyone you don't about The Empire's Edge. And join us on Subscribestar at subscribestar.com/the-empires-edge.